Faith-based communities and the private sector are working around the clock to help us recover from the disaster. Every blanket, every mattress, every loaf of bread, every spade and rake picking debris tell us we are a nation that cares. We're a nation that leaves no one behind. While government executes the responsibility placed on us by the National Disaster Management Act, our recovery from this disaster demands an all-society effort. And that is exactly what we seek or we see unfolding at this time. The generosity, the resilience, and the improvisation we are witnessing in so many places and circumstances are inspiration at a time of great difficulty. A few days ago, we said our final goodbyes to a police officer by the name of Sergeant Busisiwe Njahe, who met an untimely death during a search and rescue operation. We equally convey our condolences to the family of one of our municipal employees who was shot yesterday while on duty at a water filling point in Ottawa. We salute all our brave patriots who are ready to sacrifice their life in service to the nation. Your courage, service, and spirit inspire us all to be better human beings, and that to serve others is the highest demonstration of patriotism. We convey our sincere condolences to the families of all those who have passed away, and some of whom are being laid to rest this weekend and in days to come. The Provincial Executive Council has deployed all members of the Executive Council and mayors to our district to offer support during the funerals that are currently being held in honor of the departed. These gatherings were graced by the Premier, MECs, and mayors who, on behalf of government, have been there to convey the sympathies of our government. With regard to moving from a provincial to a national disaster, on the 13th of April, the flooding was and the impact of the floods, the designation of a provincial state of disaster was deemed inadequate to deal with the required reconstruction and rehabilitation program. As President Cyril Ramaphosa indicated in announcing the national state of disaster, the impact of floods is too huge. On the operations of the Durban port, the operations extend far beyond KwaZulu-Natal. As the busiest port in Africa, the port of Durban serves not only KwaZulu-Natal, but South Africa's economic hub, including Gauteng, the country as a whole, and the neighboring countries. Furthermore, yesterday, following our written request to the National Minister of Transport, Minister Fikile Mbalula, the toll booths at Tongat and Umvoti plazas have now been lifted in order to ease the burden on the motorists who are having to pay extra and are being diverted and thus also being delayed. The current delay on the N2, accompanied by the closure along R102 as well as M4, is also placing a financial burden on the road users and has delayed the delivery of much needed services. We welcome the Minister's decision, which is hailed as a relief by motorists and the NGOs and community-based organizations in the province. With regard to the overview of the provincial incident numbers of death as revised down, the greatest impact has been on human beings who have passed away and who have lost their lifetime investment in a matter of 48 hours. The greatest cost of this disaster has been in infrastructure, which have been destroyed. As we rebuild the physical environment around us, we must accept that it will take longer and a much more nuanced program for us to rebuild and restore hope and trust among the victims and the survivors. As of today, 17,438 households have been affected by the disaster, wherein 121,687 people were affected. Sadly, 435 people lost their lives, and to date, 54 are still reported missing. A total of 6,278 people are currently homeless, and 55 people were injured as a result of this disaster. The number of those who remain in shelters is 7,245 people in eThekwini, 245 people in KwaDukuza shelters, and the rest in Umzumbe, Reinkonyeni, and Umduni. While the shelter residents receive mattresses, hot meals, and vanity packs, which are being provided by SASSA and DSDs and NGOs. We wish to take this opportunity to appreciate the donations from the people and government of Mpumalanga province in a form of blankets, water purification sachets, and mattresses. We also wish to thank SASOL for donation in support of the affected families. As we indicated earlier, many families have started laying to rest the remains of their loved ones. A task team has been established to coordinate support provided by government to bereaved families and those affected by the disaster in various municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. Allied to that, a disaster burial policy was adopted by the Provincial Executive Council on the 17th April 2022. In this regard, we appreciate the contribution by AFBOP, which has set aside 3 million to assist with burial cost of about 150 people. We are also heavily indebted to the Motsepe Family Foundation, which has generously donated 30 million to be used largely to cover the burial cost. To support the effort of normalizing the situation and the environmental impact after the floods, COGTA, together with municipalities, is implementing a cleanup campaign in the affected district. The campaign is implemented through the utilization of community work program participants and the other component involved, which involve the use of yellow plant equipment as a supplementary resource. The campaign commenced on the 19th in Ugu, eThekwini, Ilembe, King Cetshwayo, Amajuba, and Umgungundlovu, and is proceeding very well. With regard to rehabilitation and reconstruction, human settlement, to start with. Regarding human settlement, we wish to report that the construction of residential temporary unit has started. Contractors are on site in Ilembe, Ugu, and eThekwini, having started on Friday in line with the commitment we have made. We're finalizing the assessment of some sites in Durban in terms of their suitability for construction. We must hasten to point out that this is a moving target. We are updating this information as more information is collated through Operation Sukumasake structures and our district management centers. As we continue with the construction of TRUs, our focus is to accommodate more than 4,396 families that are accommodated in halls, churches, and schools. We are also paying special attention to those accommodated by neighbors and relatives. We are encouraged by support we are getting from the national government. An integrated approach involving 3 spheres of government is assisting to ensure speed and efficiency in the intervention. Although government has prioritized 1 billion toward disaster relief intervention, we need more than 1.9 billion to complete our work. Our plan is to ensure that as from the end of the week, we will set up 4,396 temporary accommodation or TRUs. As we are saying this is a moving target, we will also be planning to ensure that we don't keep people on TRUs forever, and therefore we will quickly move to ensure that houses are rebuilt. With regard to transport, SANRAL, working in partnership with the department and affected municipalities, has already dispatched its consultants to conduct assessment on our strategic routes such as M4 in eThekwini, R102 between eThekwini and KwaDukuza, R102, GJ Crooks, Ntuzuma Access Road, Tendele Drive, which is P457, among many other strategic routes that are being considered. These routes have been closed due being extensively damaged during recent floods. Some of the roads are unsafe to use and have been reduced to single lanes to allow for the traffic. Their consultant have begun conducting assessment to determine the extent of the damage on our road network so that the necessary interventions can be determined to speedily fix these routes. With regard to infrastructure, especially in eThekwini, regarding water supply in eThekwini, there has been an improvement of about 60% in the inner and outer west region. The central and north have improved by 50% and 40% respectively. We have reported challenges in the south, which is due to the damage to the Umlazi Canal pipeline, which affect water supply in many parts of the southern region. We are hopeful that this situation will be addressed soon, as our teams are currently on site laying a temporal pipeline which we hope will be completed this weekend. The damage to Otongati water treatment plant has affected the supply of water in the entire northern areas. Unfortunately, the entire system requires a full upgrade, and this will take approximately 6 months. An interim measure which have been procured, a package plant that will enable us to purify raw water from the source. Working with Umgeni Water, we are also planning to utilize the Hazelmere as an alternative supply. With regard to electricity infrastructure during this period, the eThekwini has seen a remarkable increase in the volume of faults, which are 5 times more than what we receive on a normal basis. Whilst we have been able to restore in all our voltage or high voltage substation, work is continuing at Bayhead, Marine Ridge, Toyota, Mondi, and Sapref power stations. In Marine Ridge, our teams are still assessing the extent of the damage after the power station caught fire on Tuesday evening. At Toyota, the processing of cleaning the power station and the testing has been completed. The process of replacing damaged cable at Mondi and Sapref is moving with speed, as we have already issued orders to contractors. Once procurement has been completed, the municipality will be able to replace the cables within 14 days. Compatriots, while refuse collection has resumed in all business premises, we are still having challenges in accessing some households where road infrastructure is still being repaired. We want to commend our teams for working day and night in clearing major economic corridors and access roads. Recently, we completed major repair to the South Coast Road that provide access in and out of Umlazi. We are also pleased that the port has gradually resumed operations and prioritizing discharging of cargo such as food, medical supply, and petroleum product. We can say with certainty that most of the road access in the province is now open. We, however, still expect delay in some places, but we hope to return the situation in normal very soon. Once we return eThekwini to normal, we trust the neighboring district will resume normal operations over the coming few days. Our objective is that all areas have water, electricity, and road access restored as soon as possible so that a sense of the normal is restored in all areas of our province. The interim cost of disaster. Today, we would like to take this opportunity to give an emerging picture of the cost of a disaster so far. As we continue with the mop-up operations, these may be revised upward or downward. Overall, it is now estimated that the large expenditure on rehabilitation will come from PRASA-related infrastructure, which will cost amount to 940 billion, 348 million 500,000. This is a clear demonstration of the nature of these disasters and the work that remain ahead before we can restore our province back to the pre-flood period. As we conclude, in the hour of need, our people have been pleased to discover that they are indeed not alone. We have seen our President Cyril Ramaphosa, our national ministers, deputy ministers, the faith-based community, traditional leaders, business leaders, and all political leaders descend on our shores to offer support. It is this that keeps our hope flickering, knowing that after this darkness, there will be a better tomorrow. God bless the people of KwaZulu-Natal. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. We'll now open the floor to the media to ask questions. Please state your name, your media house, and then ask the Premier the questions you'd like to ask. We'll then open the questions to the colleagues that have joined us online as well. Thank you.
Hello, I'm from the SABC. Premier, I saw you last week. You were at the command center, and this also last week I went to a community in Nanda. This was saying that some of their loved ones have still not been found. They were told that search and recovery personnel will come back in 7 days. And I know maybe you are in touch with the command center. For communities that are still searching for loved ones, how long maybe will this recovery operation still last? There's still hope for them. There's still see police personnel coming to assist them.
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm just trying to understand the timeline for the water and electricity infrastructure. We do know that there is a different type of the Premier Sihle is being installed, but we just want to get a timeline of when people expect to have water and electricity. with burial is quite slow. There's concern that that causes a medical catastrophe, given the fact that the bodies are in a not so good condition. So we just also want to ask about that, perhaps an update in terms of how many families have been processed and if that is moving swiftly. We also just want to get a sense in terms of the official that was gunned down. We do know that police are on that case, but is there any update around that? Thank you.
I'm going to do much of the the Premier spoke about the temporary homes that have started being built. Can you perhaps maybe tell us where exactly are the areas, and maybe spoke to the region, and you could just say which areas, and you also spoke about paying attention to people who are staying with relatives and neighbors. How is that happening? Because you've spoken to people who are basically in limbo, don't know who to turn to, they don't know whether to go to the counselor. How can people, what can people do if they have left their homes? Where should they go? And also on the issue of electricity, we've also been to like areas like Pine Town, where people haven't had water since 11 April, and there hasn't really been water cuts coming in. And others that we spoke to said when there are some water cuts are kept away and then diverted to other areas. And when you spoke about that there's going to be, you've already started working on that, but in terms of the water cuts, I'm really appreciative for that.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. We'll allow the Premier to respond to the first round of questions, and then we'll take another round.
Okay, thank you. I think the first question about missing persons, it is still a challenge. As we report the figure of the people who are still missing, that is not affecting only Inanda. 54 people are still missing. The search and rescue team will continue as they proceeded. Even yesterday, we were dealing with one case of the Wushwini area. They proceeded yesterday, and this morning they started again. So they are in touch. They go out in all areas to look for those who are missing, and then they report back every day at the end of the day. With regard to the timelines on water and electricity, I think the problem is that it depends, but the municipality can provide more information on a specific area. For instance, you would have heard the deputy mayor reporting that for Utongati, it might take about 6 months to rebuild that facility. Then it will depend on an area by area and the extent of damage that happened. That is the same with regard to electricity. But we're hoping that electricity will not take that long like in other areas that are heavily affected, like water. With regard to the slow progress on funeral parlors, I think we can refer that issue to the issue of we have established the committee that deals with funerals. And in case where there are delays, we would want to expedite that. But as of this morning, when I spoke to the MEC for Health, checking whether there are outstanding postmortems, she was clear that there was only one body. So we are doing all we can at that level to clear and move to the funerals where people are buried. If the assistance is taking long, we will implore the committee to work and ensure that it is speeding the process. With regard to the official who was gunned down yesterday, we have received the report so far, and we are hoping that the police will immediately investigate the case and then be able to apprehend the perpetrators. With regard to TRUs, where it will not be possible to give you all details, but per district, we can give you a breakdown. For instance, I know that with regard to Ilembe, there are some who are being constructed in Indwedwe, and they are moving in almost all municipalities that are affected. So in this regard, your TRUs are built parallel to the affected communities. Where you've got a temporary facility housing people, we then look for land and build the TRUs. With regard to those who are staying with their relatives, we will get them through one reporting. Where do they report? They report to their councillors. They can also report to ward committees, but they can also report to the Disaster Management Center, which has a toll-free number which is given all over. Water tankers, that should be handled with the municipality. If the area of Pinetown has a particular shortage, I think we will do the same to take it up with the municipality. Because the Deputy Mayor was speaking this morning and unpacking the plans of the municipality with regard to water issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. Are there any more questions from the media in the room? Yes, Mawande.
Mawande from Newsroom Africa. Premier, I'd like to find out, are you going to be providing any oversight, particularly around the issue of there have been disasters in the past. There are people still living in halls who were put or displaced in 2017 and some even before. We've seen a trend where we do stories on people being housed in halls. 4 years later, they are still there. As a Premier, to try and rectify this, considering that this situation is like none other we've experienced, are there any plans on your part to ensure that while the TRUs will be used, there is a time frame to say we need to move people out and not have this becoming a permanent fixture?
Sorry. Yeah, you can take all questions.
Colleagues online, can you please also raise your hands if you have any questions? Over to you, Premier.
Thank you. With regard to this issue of oversight, before it, let me start by saying, when we started as the sixth administration in 2019, one of the targets we set for ourselves was to build houses and move all people who are in transit camps. We still have a plan, and in the SOPA, the State of the Province Address, I detailed the plan as to what is happening to ensure that before 2024, all of these, not the transit camps per se, are completed, finish, relocate people to proper houses. One of the challenge has been with disasters specifically. Let me take one disaster that befell the province in 2020, if not 2019. It took almost more than a year or close to a year to do a thorough assessment to quantify the damage. Now, that one part, that is a delay. And then after that, you elevate to application. You apply, submit to national. So what is it that we've done this time? We have said to national, can you give us your expert? We also provide our expert. Together we quantify, analyze, do a thorough assessment and analyze the damage and quantify it. So we are expecting that within 6 months we'll be starting building houses. The concern you are raising is very serious. You cannot have temporary residential units becoming permanent. So we will move with speed. But another oversight will be provided by Chapter 9 institutions, such as your Human Rights Commission and the Public Protector. The team of the Public Protector is still in the province, looking on all damages that was caused, and I'm sure they will be following the process of rebuilding. But we are accountable equally to the legislature, which provide broadly the oversight. So we hope we will be able, at least within 6 to 8 months, start building houses. But that is dependent on the time of assessment.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. If there are no other questions, can the Premier please just give a summary in isiZulu? Thank you.
Sifisa ukuthatha lolu suku si-update abantu bakwaZulu-Natal ngesimo esibhekene naso salesi sibhicongo se-disaster ekhandwe yimvula ezinkulu. Silapha nje ngalenyanga ka-April okuyinyanga eyaziwa njengenyanga yenkululeko eSouth Africa. Sasingakaze silindele ukuthi ngalenyanga sizobe sikhala ngenxa yesimo se-disaster esehlele. Sifisa ukuqinisekisa kubantu bonke bakwaZulu-Natal ukuthi njengohulumeni senza konke okusemandleni ukunakekela bonke labo abakhahlamezekile bekhahlanyezwa ilesi simo. Sinikezela oblankethe, omatras, yiyo yonke into edingekayo uqinisekisa ukuthi abantu bayakwazi ukuthola at least ukuthi baphile kulesi sikhathi esinzima. Ey'nsukwini ezimbalwa edlule sibeke endaweni yakhe yokuphumula uSergeant Busisiwe Mtsheha osidlule emhlabeni ngokuzuma okukhulu ekwi-operation yokuhlenga abantu. Sifisa futhi ukuzwelana nomndeni wesisebenzi sakwamasipala waseThekwini odutshulwe washona izolo ekwi-filling station ese-Ottawa. Sifisa futhi ukuqhubeka sihloniphe amaqhawe nabantu bonke abazinikele ukusilekelela ekutheni sikwazi ukulekelela abantu abakhahlamezekile ngalesi sikhathi. Siyazi ukuthi imindeni eminingi siqalile ukubeka izihlobo zayo, yingakho nje o-MEC no-Mayor bonke bekuma-district la emndeni ebeka khona izihlobo zabo ukuze sikwazi ukusupporta leyo mndeni kulesikhathi sobunzima. iKwaZulu-Natal iqale yadeclarwa njenge-province ekhungethwe isimo se-disaster esesigabeni se-province. Kodwa umongameli uqhubekile wa-announcer ukuthi i-disaster esibhekene nayo eyohlobo lukazwelonke ngenxa yokuthi idlule nemphefumulo eminingi yenza imonakalo omkhulu KwaZulu-Natal. Omunye umonakalo uthinta iport esiyaziyo ukuthi ichweba leli laseThekwini alisevi nje iKwaZulu-Natal yodwa kodwa liseva i-economic hub yase-South Africa okubalwa iGauteng namazwe esakhelene nawo. Siyafisa ukubonga ukungenelela ka-national government. Sibonga uMinister uMbalula wezokuthutha oqinisekisile ukuthi uyazwelana nomphakathi nesuggestion or isubmission esiyenzile yokuthi ake kuthi ukumiwa ukukhokha kuma-toll gates amabili eyasemvuti nasothongathi. Akuwona wonke ama-toll gate amisiwe, kodwa ilawo amabili nakhona ingenxa yokuthi imigwaqo engama-alternative route ibhidlikile ayisebenzi ngalesi sikhathi. Siyafisa-ke ukusibonga lesi sinyathelo sikaMinister. Ngokunjalo sibonge bonke abama-NGOs nomphakathi oburaiser lolu daba. Njengamanje isimo esibhekene naso KwaZulu-Natal ngokwenhlekelele abantu abangu-17,438 amakhaya angu-17,438 a-affectiwe yilesi simo sale disaster. Abantu abangu-121,687 baye bathola ukuthi bakhahlamezeke ngenxa yalesimo sedisaster. Ngeshwa abantu abangu-435 balahlekelwe imiphefumulo yabo, kanti abantu abangu-54 namanje abakatholakali. Ey'ndaweni la esingathi khona abantu ababekwe khona, singasho nje ukuthi abantu abangu-7,245 bakuma-shelters aseThekwini, kanti abantu abangu-245 bakwaDukuza, kuthi abanye balapha eMzumbe, eRenkonyeni naseMduni. Siyafisa ukubonga inhlangano ezifana no-AFBOB ey'nikelile ukuthi zizoxhasa ekulekeleleni imingcwabo yabantu abawu-150. Sibonge neMotsepe Family Foundation ngedonation ka-30 million elekelela futhi nayo imindeni ekudinga ibeke ihlobo zayo. Nohulumeni waKwaZulu-Natal u-adopthe uhlelo lokwazi ukulekelela labo abanezihlobo ezithe zadlula emhlabeni. Konke lokhu sikwenza sididiyele, sisebenza ngaphansi kwekomiti elilodwa elibambisene nomasipala ukuqinisekisa ukuthi yonke imindeni ithola usizo nokuthi abekho abathola usizo ngokuphindaphindekile. Abantu abasey'ndaweni lezi zesikhashana ozokuhlala, siyafisa ukuqinisekisa ukuthi kungekudala bazothola amakhaya, ngoba sizokwazi ukwakha ama-temporal residential unit ngokushesha. And siyimisele ukuthi ukuphela kwaleli sonto esiya kulo sibe sesiqede ama-residential temporal unit angu-4,396. Kunemigwaqo eminingi eye yaguguleka yaba nemonakalo. Singaqinisekisa ukuthi uSandral already useyayisebenza eminye yaleyo mgwaqo. Kubalwa u-M4 eThekwini, u-R102 ophakathi kweTheku nekwaDukuza, u-R102 ophakathi kwe-GJ Crooks, i-Access Road elapha eNtuzuma, iThendele Drive, P457, konke lemigwaqo neminye iyabhekwa uSandral ngokunjalo nokubambisana nedepartment. I-infrastructure ekhahlamezeke kakhulu iseThekwini, kodwa siyabonga ukuthi i-report esiyithola from ubuholi beTheku ukuthi outer west ne-inner west ukubuya kwamanzi kuya ngokunyuka, noma izinga lisephansi ngoba liku-60%. I-central ne-north khona izinga liku-50 no-42%. Siyazi futhi ukuthi kube nedamage eyenzeka kumlazi canal pipeline okumanje iyalungiswa ukwazi ukunikezela amanzi. Enye yey'ndawo ekhahlamezekile i-northern part yaseThekwini edipende kakhulu kutho ngathi water treatment plant. Sizwile kwi-report besibikela ukuthi kunayo i-intervention abayizamayo, and also bayazama ukusebenzisana nomngeni ukuthi kusetshenziswe iHazelmere Dam as an alternative. Ngokagesi ziningana izikhungo ebeyithintakile kodwa seyibuyele manje seyiqala ukusebenza, ezifana no-Bayhead la zibuyiselwa khona i-Bayhead, i-Marine Ridge, i-Toyota, Mundi and Sapref. Ngokunjalo ama-teams ayaqhubeka ukusebenza eMarine Ridge la isiteshi esike sasha khona. Singaqinisekisa futhi ukuthi ngokwe-cost ye-disaster yonke, iy'ndleko ey'nkulu zibukeka zizoya kuPrasa okuyiwona othe wakhahlamezeka kakhulu, kodwa iy'ndleko sezizonke zingaphezulu ku-940 billion, noma lokhu kuyifiga yesikhashana esikholwa ukuthi isazobuyekezwa downward ukuze sikwazi ukuba nefiga eyiyo. Siyafisa-ke ukubonga ukuthi noma sisebunzimeni abantu bakithi ababodwa, uhulumeni weprovince, uhulumeni kazwelonke, isikakhulukazi umongameli ubaba uCyril Ramaphosa, wominister no-deputy minister, ngokunjalo ney'nhlangano zomphakathi, abaholi bomdabu bendabuko, osomabhizinisi, inhlangano zezepolitiki zizonke ziye zabonakala zilula isandla. Sithi kuseyikhathini enje yikhathi zomzima la ukudinga sonke sibamsane khona siqinisekise ukuthi ikusasa lingcono kakhulu kunenamuhla. Siyabonga.
Honourable Premier, so before you conclude, there's been a request online for the Premier to please give a brief financial implications breakdown.
Okay. In terms of the breakdown, well, the breakdown is PRASA at 940 billion 348 million. Department of Transport 6.3 billion. Department of Human Settlement 2.6 billion. eThekwini 2.1 billion. Ugu 1.9 billion. Department of Health 442 million. Umgungundlovu 210 million. Health 183 million. Uthukela 145 million. Department of Social Development 67.4 million. Department of Agriculture, Rural Development 63.4 million. King Ichwayo 56 million. Umkhanyakude 20.6 million. Ilembe 18.7 million. The Zululand District 12.4 million. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Thank you, colleagues, for joining us. That now concludes the media brief for today.
Thank you. Yeah,